This is episode number 10 of the Silvertrac Extra.
Thanks for tuning in to the Silvertrac Extra, your source for the best tips, tricks, and how-tos to dominate the security industry, helping you improve your business, win more contracts, and crush your competition. Here are your hosts, Chris Anderson and Johnny Page.
Hello, Silvertrac Nation, and welcome to episode number 10. Can you believe it? We're at number 10 already. Episode number 10 here on the Silvertrac Extra, the podcast dedicated to equipping today's security operators for tomorrow's success. I am your co-host, Johnny Page, and today we've got a really cool episode in store. We're going to talk about the number one way to make sure that your business is still around in 10 years. But before we get to that, I want to mention just a couple of housekeeping items here before we jump into the featured conversation with Chris Anderson and myself. First, make sure that you visit us in iTunes or on Stitcher Radio. We are receiving a lot of great attention and reviews. I think the last time I checked, we were all the way up to 23 5-star reviews. So the show is really gaining a lot of traction. We're very excited at the response that you, our amazing listeners, have given us so far. Thank you so much for making these first 10 episodes an amazing adventure, a great success. We really look forward to the next 10 episodes and beyond. Second, make sure that you visit our show notes section because we will have each topic, each one of these episodes will have a breakdown in a written article on this as well that you'll be able to share across social media with all of your friends, family, and colleagues that you may think are interested in our content as well. Now, before we get to our feature conversation in which we talk about the number one way to make sure your business is still around in 10 years, let's hear from our amazing sponsor of today's show, Paperless Proposal.
Developed for mid to large security companies, Paperless Proposal is the #1 enterprise-level cloud-based proposal creation and management solution. Use it to create, send, track, and manage highly customized proactive or RFP proposals. Differentiate your company and win more business with this powerful proposal generation software that can include office files, video, templates, pricing tools, CRM integration, and e-signature approval. Contact us for a free demo at www.paperlessproposal.com/Silvertrac.
Today, we're going to be going over the number one way to make sure that you're still in business 10 years from now. And Chris, we've talked about this a couple of times before, but this really comes down to loving what you do and enjoying waking up every day to give your business another go, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's something that is rare a lot of times in the industry, and we get to have an exchange with a lot of different operators, whether you're in a BDM role or in operations or you're the owner. In life and in business in general, you can't really separate the fact that we've got to wake up enjoying what the day has in store for us, being willing to pursue new things, pursue personal and professional growth. I mean, if you find yourself outside of that, I think I would venture to say, and I would be shocked if your business is still around in 10 years because it's so crucial that we enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to laugh in the beginning, and it just kind of struck me funny when we were talking about, do you like waking up in the morning, right? Because there was a lot of mornings it was pretty difficult to get out of bed, and this industry is pretty tough. So I had to find a way to, it's like, wow, how can I partner and how can I be different to where I can really enjoy my business? You know, you have your own vision, you have your own thoughts. So to do that, what I learned is that you really have to share that with the people that you work with, right? That mission statement, those core values, everything we talk about, that excitement. And I think you agree, John. You've been in the industry. You've seen how other operators work.
Yeah, and I think this comes down to one of my favorite books that I read when I first got into business. And it's a TED Talk, actually based on a TED Talk by a guy named Simon Sinek, who talks about starting with why. He says everybody knows what they do. Most people know how they do it, but a lot of people don't know why they really do what they do. And so really getting connected with your why and what that internal engine is fueled by, like what really makes you want to wake up in the day, what gives you the motivation to keep on going, whether this could be providing for your family, it could be building a successful business, it could be delivering results for your customers, it could be changing your community, community, whatever it is, you've got to personally figure out what that why statement is. When you connect with your why and you learn how to articulate that to other people, the other people who share a similar why, you'll start to attract them to your business. And now you're attracting a community of people, whether it's 3 guys that you get together with or a bigger team as you continue to grow. The clearer you can articulate your why, the more you'll enjoy. You'll have fun waking up, Chris. And it's cool when you start to change that, because I think when you're in the security industry and even now running Silvertrac, I've heard you share that you've woken up on both sides of that. One where you're like, oh man, not another day, and the second where you wake up at 3 a.m. because you're so excited about what you're working on.
Yeah, well, that expression they say, doing the same thing over and over again is insanity.
Yeah.
Well, how was that? It's a true statement. It really is. But I think as entrepreneurs, anybody that is an entrepreneur that is in this business truly has that desire, that motivation to want to share and be different. I have a lot of friends, I call them couch potatoes, that just love to do that 8 and 5 job and come home, have their beer, eat dinner, and do it all over again and get up. Just no worries, as long as I got my weekends, play a game of softball, and do it all over again. And I think entrepreneurs are different. You're an entrepreneur. Look where you're at. Look what we're doing today. And that's the drive. We're different. We really are. Entrepreneurs are different.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you can do to make sure that you are you're still loving what you're doing every day is just challenge yourself in new ways, to be learning new things, implementing new practices, and just, a lot of very successful entrepreneurs out there reference this time of personal reflection. I know one really famous story, Bill Gates every year would take 1 week of solitude. He would go away for an entire week, and that's where the strategy would come for Microsoft. He would come back. He would take 1 week, he would pour through books, do research on his past year, and really decide what the strategy was going to be for the next year. And you can see where the success took him. And that was just his way of going about doing that. But taking that time, whether it's you do this on a weekly basis or monthly or even annually, figuring out a time that you can sit down and look at yourself and how you fit into the situation that you've kind of created for yourself as an entrepreneur, and making sure that that's still connected with what you really want to be doing, and then finding new ways to challenge yourself. I mean, I know that that's something that I personally enjoy. It was funny. I was this weekend with my wife. Actually, I was reading a ton, and I've kind of enjoyed learning a lot about real estate lately. And I was watching a seminar. My wife was like, "Don't you ever just want to relax and not learn anymore?" And to me personally, I love learning, no matter what I'm learning about. So I'm always doing that. So find that thing as an entrepreneur that you can consistently be challenging yourself and working on new things. I think that's critical, Chris.
Oh, and what I do too, John, sometimes I just like to listen to music and have a glass of wine, because it gives you a chance to just think about your day, think about your week, and think about what you really want to do, right? We get so busy with the phone and emails where we don't even have time to think anymore, right? Your phone's going off, your emails, the technology, everybody's sitting at the table with a phone in their hand, right?
Yeah.
So, and then you brought up some really good points. I love your thought process with the mastermind, meeting with other people and sharing other ideas, whether it's once a week, just having a cup of coffee, getting a group together and share concepts,
Yeah, and I don't, maybe this is something that our listeners don't know, but it's something that Chris and I have been working on putting together lately, is just a group of like-minded people that we have. So we're software companies serving the security industry, and something that we're working on putting together to keep that fire going and to continue to have new ideas and fresh things to offer our customers is to put together what we're calling a mastermind group of similar people, similar companies that are targeting similar markets, and we're getting together on a every other week basis and just exchanging ideas, exchanging wins and struggles and things that we're trying to work through, and taking a collaborative approach to people who are at a similar position in life, chasing similar goals. And I think that I'm really anxious to get started. I know we're in like the very early stages of that, but I'm super excited of what that's going to really add to Silvertrac, to us personally, just kind of life as a whole for us. So it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I want to say one thing too, John. I don't want everybody to think that it's the business is tough and people are constantly learning things, right? But you know what? There's a lot of lessons in struggling, right? making mistakes. There's lessons behind everything. And as long as I've been in this business and I think about all my struggles, I look back and I go, wow, every one of those struggles was a lesson. I learned something. So don't forget that for those that are out there wanting to get started into a business, that are struggling at times thinking, wow, when am I going to get that break?
Yeah. In America and really in our society, just culturally, we love the before and after pictures. Whatever it looks like, let's just take weight loss, like the most common. We love the before and after, but you know what really makes the after so enjoyable is the process. It's the process that really makes you rich. And so in business, if we lose sight of that, we have goals of going after, becoming $1 million company, then a $5 million company, and having 500 employees, like whatever it looks like for you. If we get so wrapped up in that and we put these I guess you could say, like requirements or all this external pressure on ourselves, kind of like in our heads to really reach those goals, but we lose just enjoying the process. And that includes some victories and it includes some losses. It includes bumps and bruises, but it's just kind of what life has to offer us. So, waking up every day, loving what you're doing will really carry you through a lot of those times and allow you to gain a lot through that process.
Yeah, and you look at all the famous entrepreneurs. So look at Gates and look at Trump. They share the same story. They went through a lot. Everybody has. So it's just part of the process. One
thing that I learned really early on in my career, and this was actually before I had a professional job, when I was in college, I was playing professional golf, and I had this experience. One time we had done really, really well. We had won conference championship, and it had been like a long process, a lot of hard work going into it. And I remember walking off of the 18th green knowing that we had just won this conference championship and realizing, kind of had this moment where I had worked so hard and pushed so long and I'd focused on a specific goal, really kind of shutting out the rest of life. And I realized that if I ever attained my goals, like, I have the dream, every golfer has a dream of like winning the Masters or winning like a major golf tournament. And I had this this picture kind of played out in my mind of what if I actually attained that goal, but there was no one there in life to enjoy it with me, so that I left everything behind. I actually reached a goal, but I wasn't balanced in the way that I did that. And it really came down to the people that we enjoy these processes with, whether it's your family or the people that you're working with. This needs to be an enjoyable process. So of course, we're goal oriented. We all want to reach new levels of success in our businesses, but making sure that we're holding that intention with that really along the process, it's the people that we enjoy those victories with that we'll really remember. Of course, we enjoy what we do, Chris, and we enjoy putting on the Silvertrac Extra. Hopefully you get a little insight into some tools and tips that you can use to improve your business. We're here along with the journey to go along with this with you. We hope that you find the Silvertrac Extra valuable. And until next time, I'm Johnny Page.
And I'm Chris Anderson.
We'll see you then. Well, Silvertrac Nation, that wraps up episode number 10. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation on the number one thing that you can do to make sure that your business is still around in 10 years. I'm going to ask you a quick favor here. Please visit our show in iTunes and also on our show notes page at silvertracsoftware.com/extra. We would appreciate all the love, the comments, sharing on social media. It sincerely goes a long way, and we truly appreciate your feedback. Also, remember to check out our awesome sponsors at paperlessproposal.com/Silvertrac. They've got some amazing content, amazing tools, and their software truly does work magic. Be sure to give them a visit. Check out a demo. You'll be better for it. Until next time, I'm Johnny Page. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been another episode of the Silvertrac Extra. For more insider information, visit silvertracsoftware.com/extra. Listen on the go by subscribing in iTunes. Want to hear your questions answered on the show? Visit silvertracsoftware.com/questions to submit your requests.